I've decided to do my presentation on Case 3, the flash flood. Now, I wanted to know more about this hospital and what exactly happened. I was able to Google Columbus Regional Hospital and found pictures and videos of the flood. It was super interesting. I enjoyed watching it and seeing what happened. Obviously, I didn't enjoy what happened, but it was a huge flood, and the hospital is near a river. And so, not having an action plan and knowing you're so close to a river, they should have really had an action plan of knowing what they should do in case of a flood. I know it hasn't happened in years, if ever, but just in case it did happen, what would they do? Now, my first thought with this case is the communication. Now, they did have cell phones, and it worked for them, but I also think it was a huge crutch. They were not able to communicate to multiple people, and it took them 2 days to pump out all the water from the basement, and during this time, cleanup was already happening. The first thing I would do is get some two-way radios. This way, meaning people can talk to each other as they go through the hospital. Now, I want to say that a prepared plan of having sandbags at the ready for a flood should be at the top of the list. Looking at the pictures and videos of the flood that happened, sandbags would not have helped in a short amount of time. But I also saw a video that recently, building the new building, they put floodgates, and they built a wall where it was high enough for the water not to go over the wall, and then the floodgates would, as the water came, it rose the floodgates, so they would come up. So the water raises it, not like an electronic thing that raises it. The water raises it, and then it stops the water from coming in, which is a great idea, and that will definitely help them out in the future. But still, if something does go wrong, they need to have some sort of plan. Now, being so close to the river, one would have thought that they'd have a plan for this. As far as an evacuation goes, make sure people have a firm understanding of which exit they will go through. That exit will have someone, like they did, at the door taking patients' names and where they're going. Columbus Regional Hospital did a good job at making sure to go out one door and making sure the patient's name got recorded and marked where they were going. This door has to be away from the flooded area, and the door where everyone can get to. Having an action plan and making sure all employees know how to get to their patients out of the hospital through that specific door. Now, also in this plan, it has to have contacts to the local mayor, the fire chief, state police, National Guard, any other services, bases in town. Those are the first responders for this crisis. I would also want phone numbers to life flight helicopters in the area so we can transport NICU and ICU patients out of the hospital as soon as possible. We will also want local community available to help as well. At this time, getting on the radio and informing people was the best way. Now that what I would want to do is have a local phone service that can send text to everyone in the surrounding area to help those in need. That is not just for the local hospital. It is a way to get the community's attention about the crisis, because some people may not have known about it, and this is a good way they can get that out. If that's not available, obviously social media, now you have social media, the radio still works, people still listen to radio, news, all those outlets you can use to actually get that word out. Now, they'll be calling as soon as the CEO calls for an evacuation of the hospital. The administrator will call first responders for help. They will then go to mass text or social media as they get in contact with the local radio to get more people hearing about what's going on. The next thing I would want to look at is command center. Now, I feel that Columbus Regional Hospital should have gotten some sort of two-way radio, like I said at this point. Now, after setting up the command center, they were still using cell phones. People in and out of the hospital need to be in contact with command center as quick as they can. There needs to be a workbook at command center of who will do what. There needs to be multiple flood workbooks so one can actually be reached. First things first are the patients, making sure all of them get out and get the help that they need. As far as cleanup goes, each department needs areas to start. With flood mostly damaging the bottom floors, each unit will be in charge of cleaning up their areas. Nurses and other staff members will be assigned according to floor level and what unit they're in. This way, people don't get confused about where to go. As people come to help, they will go to a designated volunteer tent and get assignments. The command center will know the total count of workers and volunteers so they can keep track of people going in and out of the hospital. Last issue I will address is with the media. We'll be having news reporters coming and asking questions. Now, the last thing I would want is to have people making statements about the future of the hospital when it is unsure. This is one thing that bugged me about this case. The CEO talked to the paper and said that the hospital would be closed indefinitely when it actually came back after millions of dollars. One thing that needs to happen is to keep it simple with the media and make sure we do not make any statements until we have a firm understanding of the situation and what we'll be doing about it. Something we can say is we're looking into the situation and still cleaning up to assess the damage. We will get back to you when we have more information. This is simple. It's not giving away any statements of closure or any statements the hospital cannot retract. Just in conclusion, the action plan needs to first happen, and in the future it needs to be practiced so everyone knows what's going on. Communication is key for this crisis, and two-way radios have to be on hand so many people can talk to make sure everyone is safe. The command center needs to know everything that is happening, and everything goes through them. With Columbus Regional Hospital, when rebuilding, setting up those floodgates was a perfect addition to be able to help in future, maybe 100 years from now, I don't know. But that will be able to help them control and help their patients stay safe, because that's the main thing for the hospitals in general is patient safety. And to be able to help any patient stay safe, especially when you have a risk of flood, being able to have those floodgates give people peace of mind and be able to know that Columbus Regional Health is going to help them.